look at the reviews that the Fusion hybrids received, it's been compared on par with luxury brands where you pay $50,000-$60,000 in terms of the level of refinement and the driving dynamics of this car. And so, if you were buying a purpose-built vehicle that's purely all about fuel economy, it might not make a good rationale to buy and to spend that kind of money to buy a hybrid. But with the way we position the Fusion, you're not only getting good fuel economy, but you're getting a really good package for the price you're paying.
So kind of following up on that, of course, the second part of a cost differential, so we're saving money on the fuel, a little bit higher price to start with. The maintenance question also comes into play because people who haven't had a hybrid before, so they go to their New England Lincoln Mercury dealer, they buy a Milan hybrid, and then they got to start worrying about maintenance. Can you talk a little bit more about whether there are differences in sort of the maintenance schedule or maintenance expenses that you're going to have? I know you mentioned it in the presentation that there, in some areas you're definitely saving money on maintenance, but if you can lay out a little bit more of what the schedule is like.
True, yeah, and absolutely there are differences in maintenance schedules. For example, with the gasoline engine, because the engine's off a lot more than you typically see in a conventional vehicle. You're talking of oil change intervals as high as 10,000 miles versus your typical 3,000 or 5,000 mile service interval. And then also in terms of brake pad wear, we have in fact surrogate data, which is basically taxis that are in San Francisco and New York City that have over 300,000 miles on them, and these cars put 30,000 miles a month. And we've compared the service intervals and service maintenance of the hybrids compared to their gasoline counterparts, and we found them to be significantly lower than their respective gasoline vehicles.
Are there items in a hybrid that you're going to have to replace as part of maintenance that are elements you wouldn't have in a gasoline-powered car? And is there a sort of a lifespan for some of those? I know I've got Tony here asking, how much does it cost to replace the battery pack? And I guess the other question, and that is, when would you have to?
Yeah, and I mean, today, in terms of warranty of the batteries, we actually warranty these batteries for 10 years and 150,000 miles. So that's just in terms of manufacturer warranty. But in terms of field of durability, again, going back to the taxis, which get a lot more abuse than a typical driver would put mileage in their car. We have, again, in-field data, Escape hybrid taxis with over 500,000 miles with no battery problems. So essentially, we have data that suggests that the battery will outlast the actual vehicle life of the vehicle. So taking that into consideration, obviously, in terms of if there's a repair that's outside warranty, what we've done, especially with the Fusion hybrid, is we've taken the battery and broken it down to much smaller levels of serviceability. In other words, you can actually service a lot more components in the Fusion battery than we had in our prior generation technologies. And that's largely because the cells, because they're non-moving parts, they're very robust technology, and we've actually in the field we've only seen one cell failure so far, and that was actually because of damage in shipment. Apart from that, the issues have been mainly related to either a resistor burning out or a fan burning out, which today you can easily replace that and service those individual components, which is a big improvement from how we had in our initial early generation battery cells.
Okay, great. I've got a couple people asking questions here about comparing. Rose in Boston asked a question that I think if you guys answer no to, you may both be in trouble, because the question is, do you have any vehicles competitive with the top Japanese models? And I know we touched on this even before we started the segment today. But if you can talk a little bit about, I think people have an impression of a hybrid is a hybrid is a hybrid. What are some of the differences between the cars that Mercury and Ford are producing now and some of the other hybrids that are out there on the market?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I would say is that all of Ford Motor Company hybrid vehicles are very competitive, actually better than their Japanese counterparts in the particular segment that they're offered. Take, for example, the Milan hybrid and the Fusion hybrid. They're a mid-size sedan, and they would compete with the Toyota Camry hybrid. The Milan and the Fusion hybrid get 8 miles per gallon better than the Camry hybrid in city driving, and 2 miles per gallon better than the Camry hybrid in highway driving. Additionally, as I had mentioned earlier, both vehicles can go over 700 miles on a single tank of gas. And as Praveen indicated, these vehicles can go up to 47 miles per hour in electric vehicle mode just using the battery in the electric motor. That's not something that the Camry hybrid or any of the other competition out there, be it foreign or domestic, can say. When you talk about our Mercury Mariner and Ford Escape hybrid, those vehicles were the first hybrid SUVs that were available, and they are still the most fuel efficient SUVs available on the planet. So what I would answer is that absolutely, Ford Motor Company hybrids are at the top of their segment, and they certainly are very, very competitive with any hybrid that's offered out there. And our plan going forward, as we develop more and more hybrids and offer them, would be to just do exactly that, to be at the very top of the competitive segment.
Great.